Hello and welcome to your first Photoshop tutorial with me, Helen. Today I'll just be taking you through the basic interface of Photoshop. So you should have Photoshop on your computer. It's got this little PS icon here. If you could just open that up, and then you should be presented with this screen here. So to get started, I'll just run you through the basics. As you can see, you should have this toolbar here on the side. This is where you access all of your core tools that you'll be using in Photoshop. Along the top here as well, you'll be using some of these menus, things such as filters and image adjustments and those kinds of things. We'll get into those as we go into Photoshop a little bit more. In the top right hand corner here, you've got all your colour information. So this colour here that's set, you can see the different properties that go into making that colour. Now, it might not seem like useful information at the moment, but as you get into your design, you'll be using this more. So don't worry too much at this point if you don't understand all of that, but it's useful to know where it is and how to change your colour. So you do have access to all these colours here. You can move this slider up and down and move this little picker here to any colour that you want. You just click OK. You've also got adjustments and masks here. So if you do add any adjustments or masks, you'll be able to see the properties involved in creating those masks here. This bottom right hand little menu here is your layers, and that's really important. You're going to be coming back to this quite frequently. Now, I don't know if you know Photoshop or not, but Photoshop basically works off layers. So I've got this image here just to show you. And don't worry about what I'm doing at the moment, just to show you, you can layer up an image as many times as you want. A little bit like pages of a book. And then you can, if you want to, you can affect kind of the properties of the layer. So things like opacity, which is your transparency, and the fill there as well. And then you've got layer properties here as well that you can play with, which are like your blending modes. And I'll just turn that one off so I can show you. So you can see that these have different effects basically. Once you get into it, you'll be able to play around with those a little bit more. You also have another menu attached to this, so if you right click and open blending options, you've got all of these layer styles as well. Things like a drop shadow, which if you're using text can be really useful. And you can see that you can change the size and the spread and distance on that. You've also got an inner shadow as well. This outer glow, which creates quite a nice effect for text as well. And again, if you're creating buttons for your website, you might want to use some of these layer styles. I won't go through all of them today, but have a little play and see if you can get some nice effects. What's nice about Photoshop as well is if you do put any blending options on, you can go back into the menu and affect them on here. So for instance, if you've got a drop shadow and you decide that you don't like the direction of that shadow, you can go in and alter that. So let's start off with making a new canvas. A new canvas in Photoshop is the page that you work on. So if you go to File and New, you should get these options pop up here. Now, you can work in custom sizes, and if you were to go into print, you'd probably need to understand all the different sizings. But today we're going to make our life easy and use this international paper menu here. And then you can see you've got access to all the different paper sizes. We'll just click A4 for today. The resolution here comes in handy, obviously, because we're going to be working in print today. you need to set the resolution to 300 pixels per inch just here to ensure that your page looks like it's going to be a good quality. Colour mode as well. In print we use CMYK rather than RGB. So if you click onto this drop down menu CMYK, and we'll set the background as transparent. So because we've set the background as transparent, you can see there's lots of these little squares on the background. That's basically your transparency layer. You can't affect that. But if I just pull this top bar at the top here, because here's all your layers or pages that you've got open, your different canvases. So if you pull this just away here and we put this koala onto this image here, just to show you, you can use this move tool here. You can literally drag and drop. Now this bit around the background is transparent at the moment, and this is the only part of the opaque image. You can affect its transparency, so as you see, if we turn the transparency down, you can see the dots in the background there. But we'll just we'll get rid of that background for now, and then we'll get rid of this koala here as well. So I'd just like you to open up an image. So if you go File, Open, and you can open up any of these images here. So I'm just going to open up this lighthouse image here. And again, you can take the tabs off the top there. And we'll just drag and drop it to copy it over. Now I'm just going to show you basically how to zoom in and out. You can click Control and plus on your keyboard, or Control and minus to zoom out. Control and plus zooms in. But if you're not confident using that, you can use this navigation window. Now it might be up here hiding. If it's not, then you can go to the window and click the navigator on. And this little slider here zooms in and out. And you can also move the page around by dragging it around like that. So it's quite nice, for instance, if you were going to move into this and cut out this tree here using some of the tools. So to resize this image, we need to make sure that we've selected it. So as you can see here, you've got these eyes. Because it's highlighted in blue, we've selected it, but if the eye is clicked on, then you can see it. If it's not, obviously you can't. Now that gets really useful as you work with Photoshop more, because you might have an instance where you've got 100 layers in here, for instance. You'd need to go in there and switch it on and off. Before I move on to resizing, I'm just going to suggest that we rename this layer, so I'll just rename it Lighthouse. To do that, you literally just click on the layer, double click, and then you can rename it. I'll just call this one Background as well. That gets really useful if you're working with tons of different layers. So make sure you've got your lighthouse layer selected. And then if you go to Edit, Free Transform, or you go Control and T, which is what I normally use, you can see this comes up with kind of handles on the side. And as you move your mouse over it slightly, you see it comes up with this little arrow, which means you can rotate your image like that. If you hold Shift, by the way, it'll keep its kind of like sizing and everything, so it doesn't go out of shape. For instance, if you don't click that, you'll get a stretchy image like that. But if you click Shift, it'll maintain its size. So these handles on the edge here, on the corners, that allows you to resize. And then if you hover like that, it should allow you to rotate to how you want it to as well. And you just double click when you're happy with it. You might want to crop this image as well because we don't want all of this transparent background. So if we just zoom out, and then you can use this crop tool here, and if you just drag it over your image and double click, you can crop the image back down like that. So that's just a real basic introduction to Photoshop. Okay, thank you very much.